Hey everyone, this is Mike, and this is my journal entry for Module 2 for The Secret Life of Groceries. There were two questions we had this week. What factors led Lynn to make $100 per week, and what are the true costs of the food systems? When we talk about factors that lead to Lynn making 100 per week, there were a couple, and I'll just quickly go over them. Deductions from her fleet company. If she was not part of a fleet, she could get paid more per run, but her runs would be significantly less consistent. So she joined a fleet, and they get to take money off the top, and she gets more consistent routes as a consequence. The cost of the truck lease, even in slow months. These trucks are hundreds of thousands of dollars, and so it makes more sense for many people to lease them. But if you, in a week, don't run the truck, you still have to pay the lease for it. Lumpers fees, heavy usage tax, the cost of fuel additives, even when you're idling, that all comes out of Lynn's pocket. The cost of cleaning, and the cost of accountants and lawyers, all of this described on page 89 and 90. I thought accountants and lawyers, that one hadn't dawned on me, but if you're doing interstate business, of course you'll need a whole army of accountants and lawyers for what we consider a blue-collar job, so I thought that was an interesting expense that I had not considered. Uh, and that leads us into the true costs to the food system. Beyond the monetary cost, uh, in our search for cheaper and cheaper food, we end up with lean corporations that value profits over people and value profits over their own employees. I think it's easy to see that Lynn's fleet company is much more interested in the bottom line than it is her health, her wellness, her prosperity, her future. Uh, Truckers being used as a disposable resource and being trapped in predatory relationships. It was really sad to read about new truckers being the ones that they profit the most off of, and how people who are wanting to make a better life for themselves go into debt to try to find a good career, and by the time they realize that this isn't a good career, that it is predatory in nature, it's too late. They're stuck in that cycle. That was depressing to read. The entire industry experiencing a 112% turnover, as outlined on page 98. I remember when Amazon had that internal leak that showed that they were reaching 70% turnover, 80% turnover for their warehouse employees. Alarm bells were going off. They knew that that was not sustainable and that they needed to do something to retain their employees. 112's the new winner. I don't think I've ever seen an industry with a higher turnover. Uh, and the environmental damage, wasn't mentioned specifically, but I asked myself 4 or 5 times through this book, or through this chapter, how many idling trucks are in the U.S. right now? Like, how much carbon emissions, how much fuel are we burning through? How many non-renewable resources are we using just to be inefficient? Just because we've got trucks idling overnight? It seems like not only are we doing a lot of environmental damage and using up non-renewable resources, people like Lynn are the ones who are having to foot the bill for it. So that inefficiency within our food system seems all bad. And when we talk about fuel, just very quickly, the supplementary reading about ethanol, I I've learned a lot about ethanol while I'm here, or while I was here at ASU, and I'm old enough to remember in 2006, 2007, the Tea Party and their reaction. Uh, Ethanol seemed like it was going to be this great boon, but as I've learned here at ASU, we swapped one non-renewable resource for another. We may be able to grow corn, but the soil we grow it in, within human terms, is a non-renewable resource, and we take food out of bellies so that we can put it in fuel tanks, and I'm not convinced that it's made the difference that it was promised to make. I think a better alternative to that would be electric vehicles. Any of the other green things, I'm not sure that we can just cut the amount of petroleum by mixing in corn and call that a success. I think it was a great idea, but I don't think it's worked out the way that we want it to. But I've run up against the clock. It was great talking to you all. I'll see you all next week.